And it looks that we're live. Hi everyone, welcome to the last Q&A with the LUKSO tech team. We have quite a numerous team today. It's the last session, but of course we're going to continue the support on Discord. My name is Bianca. I'm from the DevRel LUKSO team, and I have today with me Fabian, Stefan, Hugo, and Jean from the tech team. Thank you so much for joining us today. And for those joining from home on YouTube, please don't forget to put your questions in the live stream. Maybe we'll do a bit of housekeeping before we start. As always, this session is recorded, so if you want to revisit a certain part of the recording, or if you want to look again at the whole session, you can do that later. All right, how is everyone doing today?
Good. Doing good.
Yeah. I also want to see the YouTube live stream. It's the BuildUP. Put the link out. Okay.
Before we wait for questions to come on YouTube, we have some questions from our Discord. And maybe we can start with those. The first one is, are there any specific considerations for creating an upgradable NFT on LUKSO? For example, a skin in a game.
I mean, consideration. I mean, the thing is, you can do many ways of how you can create an NFT. One way is, I mean, there's different type of NFTs. You can either make an NFT that has just an ownable amount, and for that you would use LSP7, and this is kind of like a token, but you set the decimals to 0. You set the new token type to, I think it's also 1, and then it's an NFT, and it can be represented as an NFT. An LSP8 can be an LSP8 smart contract, which is kind of like 7 to 1 on Ethereum, can represent a single NFT where you own multiple IDs. For example, maybe that's useful for a physical item where you have one kind of handbag and there's different kind of serial numbers for each physical handbag that's being produced of the same type. And then you could even set metadata for each of those IDs separately. For example, if it's about warranty, if it's about things that got repaired or changed on that specific physical item. Or you can also say an LSP8 is a collection of different type of NFTs. And when it comes to upgradability, is on the one hand, you have, if you're still the owner in the NFT contract, you can actually update the metadata. Obviously, if you want to have in the future a trustable NFT, at some point you want to probably remove yourself being able to update the metadata. But you can also extend it. I mean, there's actually LSP17 extension inside the NFT. So you could even add new functions to the NFT contract later down the road. If there's a new kind of protocol coming up that somehow is part or should be or could be part of an NFT, you could actually add a new function. As long as you're the owner, you can just set a data key that's the function signature with a specific prefix, which is defined in LSP17, point it to an external smart contract that will extend, which creates the new functionality that you want to have, and then you can even extend your NFT. So NFTs on LUKSO, and that's why we call it also NFT 2.0, are extremely flexible. Metadata is changeable or updatable over time, and even functionality can be extended over time. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Fabian. I agree. I also find it super cool that information can be altered even after the mint. We have a question from Luca. Do you need to deploy URD for Vault and attach it in order to use ERC725Y for asset fetching?
Okay, now I need to understand this question. So if you do what? If you attach a universal receiver delegate to a vault, then what's the question?
Maybe I can read it once again. Do you need to deploy URD for Vault and attach it in order to use ERC725Y for asset fetching?
So basically, Yeah, I mean, maybe Jean, you want to go? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very simple. It's basically it's the same way as a universal profile. You don't need to deploy necessarily a vault. You don't need to deploy a specific LSP1 delegate for the vault, because you can have one LSP1 delegate used by multiple vault. It's a singleton contract. So unless you want to create an LSP1 delegate with really specific functionality tied to your vault, then you will have to deploy it. Otherwise, for the basic functionality of fetching and registering and removing assets, all the vaults can use the same LSP1 delegate.
I think to answer the question, we could say yes, it needs to be attached, but it doesn't have to be a new one that is deployed. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Our next question. Any tips for improving the security of assets stored with universal profile?
I mean, adding an additional controller key, that's, for example, your ledger, that would give you additional security in case you lose your computer. There's obviously the recovery system that is there, and probably soon there will also be recovery.social launching, which allows you to add not only social recovery, but allows you to add actually recovery using different kind of services. I mean, you could potentially even have a key on Google Cloud, a key maybe in Authy, and another key in another system. And when these three services, when you want to recover, you take the pieces, all the keys from these three services, they all approve your new controller key, and you basically recover your UP. There will be a backup feature coming in the extension, where you can back up your whole profile. But that's a bit of the nerd way, storing your file secure somewhere. I think from my perspective, at least going forward, I think different kind of recovery service will pop up, different ways of doing the social recovery or recovery through different kind of centralized service that you combine together. In my opinion, should be the way to go to recover a profile, to secure your profile. The idea of like writing down your seed phrase or storing a backup file saved somewhere might feel comfortable for the people who have been in crypto for the last years, because that's what everybody's used to. But I think that it will transition over time when people feel more safe that they have these different kind of services that can always recover their profile, and then fear of loss is not so much anymore, based on the private key like it is today.
So in a nutshell, basically multiple controllers with different permissions. We have some additional context from Luca. So he says, currently deployed vault says it doesn't support ERC-725Y, so I can't fetch assets owned by the vault. I thought it worked for universal profile.
Yeah, I mean, to be correct, the vault has ERC-725Y. ERC-725Y is just your key value store, and you can set data into your vault. It's missing the universal receiver delegate. So you basically, and maybe that's something that we can post in the Discord chat as well. So basically, you just have to add the universal receiver delegate address to this vault, and then it will work.
Luca, maybe if you can share in the dev chat the address of the vault that you're using, or Erin, maybe it's not yet. If it's on testnet, the address of the things.
And also the universal receiver delegate, like we said before, is a singleton. So there's a deployed contract. I think it's as simple as adding an address as under the universal receiver delegate key, and that should already do the trick. So that's something that John can share in the Discord, and also probably here potentially. I mean,
yeah, we can add in the Discord. Tanto DeFi wants to follow us on X. We have actually a repo with different resources from the ecosystem, including people from the team. So we can share that as well. We have the next question from Erica. Suppose I created...
Sorry, Bianca, just quick, if you want quickly to follow us, Tanto DeFi, we have the developer account, which is ERC725 account. You can check on Twitter, and this account follows all the LUKSO team. So we will have everyone at the same place if you want. Yeah. So back to you, Bianca.
Thanks, Hugo. So back to Erica's question. Suppose I created an NFT collection with a sub-collection. Could I add more NFTs to the sub-collection after the initial creation?
I mean, a sub-collection is quite a tricky thing. So probably what you want to do is you want to create 2 collections. So you create 2 LSP8, where each ID represents a different NFT, and then you basically just, I mean, it could be something that like an app like Universal Page in the future could support, that they say this is a sub-collection. We probably would have to standardize some kind of key where a collection could reference a sub-collection. Right now, that key is not standardized. I mean, you could technically have one of your keys pointing to the sub-collection, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense, because what does it mean now? Who owns the sub-collections? Like, there's many different ways this could be created. I would right now probably go for creating 2 LSP8s. One is a collection, the other is a sub-collection, and then think about how you could use a data key that references the sub-collection, or right now just show it in your website as a sub-collection. But all these are things that could be added. You know, this shows the flexibility of ER725Y, because now you have this key value store in your NFTs. You could now add a data key that, you know, has some certain name. Probably, ideally, this is standardized, could be whatever, LSP32 sub-collection, and then the content is just the address of a sub-collection. Whatever that means for an interface, right? And whatever that means for a website, whatever a sub-collection means in the different contexts is obviously different.
Yeah, we'll also add what Fabian said, that 2 LSP8 contracts may be easier to go with, and especially if the sub-collection contract is not necessarily owned by the collection contract, because if you have to, otherwise you will have to maybe go for the collection, and then the sub-collection for minting can be a bit more complicated. But yeah, basically for minting and issuing more NFT in the sub-collection, it's up to you or how you define it. We don't have like a standard way to do it. It's up to the protocol or to the developer building the collection to define that.
Yeah, and I think this is also where it comes to, you know, maybe shows the difference to what the LUKSO standard proposals are. They are not like 3 different sets of pre-built things that you just use for 3 different use cases. They are Lego blocks that you can combine in very different ways to create whatever you want to create, right? We're not predefined, this is the 5 things you can do. This is like a bunch of Lego blocks you can combine in different ways. And obviously, there's more standardization needed going down the road if you obviously want to have adoption around your sub-collection standard. But the good thing is that these standards can be sometimes as simple as defining a single data key, which is literally just defining a key name and a key value. It's as simple as that. And if people, you know, think that's a great way to reference collections from one NFT to another contract, you know, that's what it can be. So there's a lot of freedom here in what you can build.
I would also add here, I think, Jean, in your example number 5 from the tutorial for the hackathon, that's a good starting point for creating a sub-collection. Maybe we can share that resource here once again. Our next question, when should one use window.ethereum and window.LUKSO?
Right. So a little context here. We have these two different namespaces because there really isn't a good standard until recently that existed that let multiple browser extensions be used simultaneously in the same browser. So we know that Ethereum has been the standard, but the problem with that is that if you have two different extensions installed at the same time, there's a race condition. Whatever one injects last is going to overwrite the first one. So it's a problem. And we had this problem for a while where people who had MetaMask installed and the UP browser extension installed, oftentimes MetaMask would win that race because it would inject second, and then the DApp would target the wrong extension. And there was no way to target the UP browser extension instead. So what most other extensions are doing is they're injecting twice. They're injecting in window.ethereum and they're injecting in window.LUKSO or window. Whatever their name is, like window.phantom. So we came up with window.LUKSO and we're injecting there as well. So to answer the question, if you want to target only the UP browser extension, then you would at the moment use window.LUKSO and you target that. There is a new standard that just got approved called EIP 6963. We will research this in the next months, and this is actually a standard that will allow DApps to have some intelligence about what browser extension that they want to target. Eventually we might not be the only browser extension in the LUKSO universe. So in the long run, DApps that are building on us will want to target any browser extension that supports us. But for now, yeah, there's just the UP browser extension. So for now, you can use window.LUKSO if you just want to target an extension that can handle that can display LUKSO standards properly, like the UP browser extension. In the future, probably when we support EIP 6963 and other browser extensions that are there, then that will be the thing to implement. So keep an eye out for that.
Thank you, Stephen. We have some follow-up questions from Tanto DeFi. What's that new standard for handling multiple wallet extensions you just mentioned? I think this one refers to the 6963 you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And which way is the best way to handle this?
Well, like I said, if you only want to target an extension that handles the LUKSO standards, then there's only one. It's the UP browser extension. Use window.LUKSO. If you have a DApp that maybe isn't LUKSO specific, then probably the best is actually to use Wallet Connect. Wallet Connect is another. You can look on our documentation. We have a library for Wallet Connect, and that will actually pop up as a modal, which allows the DApp to select whatever extensions that they want to support, including UP browser extension, MetaMask, and other popular ones.
And also, the question is, is it functional yet? No, not in the browser extension. So the new standard just got basically finalized, and then it's also, we have to see, how others implement this or not. The thing with standards is that, just because somebody says something is final doesn't mean it's the end and everybody's now jumping on it. So we have to also watch this one here. And if it becomes adopted, then we will also integrate this,
Thank you all. Our next question, could you please detail a bit more about the modularity of universal profiles and how this can be leveraged?
Jean, maybe you want to take this question? It's a very broad question. So.
Yeah, it is a very broad question. Well, basically, you can, there are different parts of UP that can be very modular. First, you have a metadata. You can add any sort of information to your universal profile. So, like if you look at anything around specific things like I don't know, like icons, avatars. You know, like if you want to represent UP as a character in a video game and want to set the attributes, links to references. To external website, any kind of information that you can think of is basically metadata in a universal profile. So whatever your profile represents and whatever specific information you want to attach to it, you can do it. Then the second thing I'm thinking of is the extensibility. If so, your profile has core functionality like setting metadata or interacting with other contract. Any non-native function that it doesn't implement, you can add it via LSP17 that Fabian was mentioning. So a simple example of extending it is if you want your UP to receive ERC721 NFTs or allowing 4337 interaction. These are entry points that the contract doesn't have as function, but you can plug extensions so that you can enable that. So that's the second thing. And the last thing is anything around automation and notification services. You can plug LSP1 delegates contract to UP so that it can be customized to react differently on these type of events and interaction when you receive tokens, when you receive NFT. So yeah, in summary is that it's metadata, extending the functionality and reacting on the interactions.
Yeah, and all of those, I mean, extending your universal profile, I mean, ideally, that's something that's not so super necessary for users to do in the early days because your universal profile already can interact with any smart contract. And it can be controlled by multiple devices or apps or whatever because you have a key manager. I think probably where the most experimentation will happen for some time is on the universal receiver delegate. So that's the smart contract that you have that can act on any kind of incoming requests. So if a token is sent to you, they will call the universal receiver function on your profile, which then forwards it to your universal receiver delegate. And you can even have for different kind of type IDs or different kind of universal receiver type IDs, you can set different smart contracts that can then do different things specifically to that type ID. For example, you can say, okay, on LSP7, I want to do this. When an LSP7 token comes in, on LSP8 token comes in, I want to do this or that. Obviously, you have to keep in mind gas here because when your universal receiver delegate acts, he will act on the transaction cost of the one who sends you the token or the one who calls the universal receiver function. And so you don't want to eat up a lot of gas because then people probably don't like you anymore and don't send you stuff anymore. So that's something you should keep in mind.
Thank you both. Going to our next question. Can we add universal profile to Rainbow Kit custom button?
That's a good one. I mean, we need to check the PR in the project, Rainbow Kit. We added the, I think, Stephen, you added the
for Wallet
one.
Yeah, for Wallet Connect. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're not in Rainbow Kit at the moment. We haven't really talked about this. Probably Wallet Connect would be the one that you'd want to use right now. But if you have a good use case for a Rainbow Kit, we could definitely look at it. You could send it our way. We'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
It's one of the more popular. I mean, there are probably half a dozen libraries like that. And I know Rainbow Kit is pretty commonly used.
All right. Are mobile wallets accepted as MVP for the hackathon?
I mean, potentially yes. I mean, so building a mobile wallet that integrates universal profiles, that would be quite a feat of work, I would say. If it's just a wallet that hosts LUKS in the basic version, I mean, it would be definitely, it would be definitely accepted. The question is, how does it stand out compared to other projects that are around? Because a mobile wallet itself is not very a novel idea. If you do a full-on universal profile controller app, which is basically, you can basically authorize your profile into this app, and now you can control your profile from within this app. I mean, that's something that we are working on. There will be a mobile version for universal profiles. That will be really cool to see, but it's a very more sophisticated thing to build. So it's quite complex to build. I mean, a basic wallet, it's sure. I mean, if it's done well enough, I mean, that could be cool. Maybe with Vault integration, that would be useful. But yeah.
Thank you, Fabian. Our next question from Luca. What's the difference between LUKSO's relay service and, let's say, zkSync's native paymaster?
So I haven't looked into zkSync's native paymaster. I would assume it's not ERC4337 bundling.
Yeah, but it comes from it. It's an adapted version. It comes from ERC4337. It's adapted version.
So then the answer would be, for a user, it's similar. And you can even make your universal profile 4337 compatible. There's a 4337 extension. Obviously, right now that's very developer focused, but in the future there will be probably just a website where you click a button and you add your 4337 extension. You fund your gateway or entry point contract, or use somebody's bundler entry point contract, and then they can pay for your gas. But the transaction relay service of LUKSO is basically in a way more centralized, but also way simpler. So basically anybody can run a transaction relay service. Anybody can send a transaction to anybody's profile, as long as they come with a signed message from one of the user's controller keys. If they sign a message in a certain way, a transaction in a certain way, then anybody can relay that transaction. So in our case, our transaction relay service is relaying this as a part of subsidization, and in the future probably it will be paid for subscription. It's simpler, because all you do is you take this message that you got from the user and you send it to the execute relay call function on the universal profile key manager, and it will execute given that it's signed by an allowed key. While ERC4337 is a lot more complex, has a lot more back and forth calls before it makes the transaction. So it's internally differently working. Our version is simpler. 4337 is, at least in the ideal case, more decentralized. But given that there will be multiple transaction relay services in the future, you just pick and choose the one you trust. Same like you also pick and choose different bundlers, right? And trust them to forward your transaction. But on the end, a transaction relay service can never do anything that the user didn't allow, right? Basically, you give them a signed message and say, please forward it to the network and pay for my gas. And then the transaction relay service can decide to do that or not.
There is also something with the paymaster. There is this feature that you can pay your transaction with a ERC20 token. So you can, pay with like something else than the native currency. This is not something that the LUKSO relay is doing. The LUKSO relay is simply, as Fabian said, forwarding the transaction. Sometimes also the paymaster, they have this way of like, they need to stake ETH for security. So as Fabian said, it's a more complex system. I also, there is something with I'm not sure how paymaster works with EOA and standardized accounts. Our relay is made for ERC725X contract because it needs to call the execute function. So yeah, but if your contract has this function, and it's very simple, it's only about having something else that calls this function of your contract with your signed transaction. So yeah.
Yeah, I would add also a last point was quickly not familiar with zkSync this solution that was asked, but with like the relay service on LUKSO, Basically, there is the LUKSO relayer, but at the lower level on the smart contract, it's an endpoint called execute relay call. So technically, because execute relay call is its own standard as well, you can have this module embedded in any smart contract so that it can accept relay transaction. So I think it's also one extra thing that adds a bit of flexibility. Like right now in the UP architecture, the key manager is a contract that has the execute relay call endpoint so that it can accept transaction from any addresses. But technically, you could have this endpoint on any contract to accept a meta transaction. So I think this is something also that adds a meta transaction that can be added on multiple places in the network. Yeah, this is more from the contract side rather than the relay service from LUKSO.
Thank you, guys. Our next question from Amir.
I
and
would
this
like
one is
to
from Steph.
sorry, I would like to add something too. So it's not 100% decentralized. No. So your bundler service is also centralized. So they're both running servers, picking up transaction, and forwarding them to the network. What ERSZ 4337 has is that it has this automatic repayment system built in. But our system is simpler and it gives more flexibility on the type of businesses you can build. And it's also cheaper, in terms of like what the verifying of the transaction cost. But they're both, both are centralized because both are servers run by someone to forward your transaction or not. But there's no, like, the worst case is they cannot forward it. But you can always pay your own transaction fees, right? You don't need to use a transaction relay service. That's a nice to have a gasless experience. You can just buy Lux and pay for your own transaction fees. Or you can plug in 4337 into your UP, and now you can also use 4337. So it's not either or, it's and, if that makes more sense.
Thank you, Fabian, for the additional context. Our next question from Amir. Will you make a universal profile extension for Firefox too? I think this one is for you, Stefan.
Yeah, so right now we're supporting Chrome and Brave, and eventually other browsers will be supported too. I mean, right now our focus has been on getting core functionality built and satisfying, like, Chrome is the more popular browser at the moment, but eventually we'll expand that to other browsers too. It's probably not in the super near term, but it's definitely on the radar. The main challenge there is the Chrome is using MV3, the manifest version 3, and other browsers are don't have total support for MV3, so there's a bit of a challenge there with how we design it, but it's definitely something that we want to approach at some point.
All right. It looks like we don't have any more questions for the moment. Any closing thoughts from your side, guys?
Yeah, I just want to say that over the last days and weeks, we got some PRs and stuff on our docs, so that's super cool to see that. We have so much ideas and stuff that we want to add. I think it's Luca, you mentioned, sorry, someone mentioned the docs in one of the tutorials that was maybe confusing. So if you see anything, feel free to open PRs or issues, and we are more than happy to adjust that. This is something we are doing. So yeah, our goal is to make it as understandable as possible. We had a huge rework over the last days. So yeah, that's cool. Just wanted to say that. Thanks for the PRs and the issues. That's cool. So we will add more like code sandbox and stuff like that. So
I also want to add to this. I mean, we are a small team of a lot of busy devs. So there's a lot to build, right? I mean, even though people see in the outside, they see a browser extension, they see some pretty websites and they think, hey, that's not so common. Why does it take so long? It's because the hard part is the inner workings of things, because they should last for the next 10 years. And there are different pieces involved that people do not see. Lots of different kind of like pieces that are not even visible. They create that easy user experience, but the easy user experience in Web3 is very hard to build if you don't have all of these other pieces in place. And obviously, going forward, there's now a lot more people building in the outside, which is one thing. There's also probably a lot more contributions coming the outside, and hopefully over the next few months we can also grow the team so to be even faster on a lot of fronts. There's just so much to build, and there's too little hands, and it's quite new. So it's different than building something on Ethereum, because on Ethereum everybody's running with the same tech since 2015. So there's not a lot that has been on the core essence of how you do things, using MetaMask, private keys and stuff. Almost nothing changed. We have reinvented the whole core logic. That's why Universal Profile is such an important piece. And that allows for a lot more flexibility and a lot more cool things to build now down the road. But they're also a lot more complicated to make look easy, to make them look very seamless, smooth, and easy to use. And there's a lot of features that you guys will discover now over the next 2 years. So there's a lot of stuff that we have already in there. I mean, we just mentioned a few with the relayer and the reactability, the extensibility, and the new token standards, the flexibility there. All of those things will be things that projects will probably uncover just months and years down the road, right? And that's not to be underestimated. So we laid the groundwork, and a lot of this groundwork is not even that obvious to people and that visible to people because they're not even touching that yet. But it's already there, right? And that's exactly why a universal profile you create right now, and even an NFT you create right now, is pretty long-lasting. I do want to mention that there's 2 changes that happened recently on the NFT front. One is we added a token type data key that will tell a website what this token smart contract represent, because it's not as simple as, hey, ERC20 is a token and 721 is an NFT. In our case, LSP7, which is like ERC20, can be a token or an NFT, which is a way cheaper NFT for digital assets. And 721, in our case, LSP8, can be an NFT, but it also can be a collection, and it can be also so many more things down the road, because you can combine these new Lego blocks in very different ways. And that's why the token type is very important. Also on the metadata, we changed the hash function and method, hash method or whatever it's called, to a verification property, which now has verification method and verification data and potentially verification source and maybe additional fields in the future, so that you can even create now very interesting new NFTs, for example. You could technically now create an NFT which has a changing image. So the problem right now with changing images on NFTs, in 721, you would just link a URL. That URL could change this image arbitrarily, but you have no verifiability that that image was actually changed and altered by the NFT creator, or maybe just by Google or anyone else. With this new verification property, you could technically say method ECTSA, put in the verification data an address, put in the verification source a signature, a URL that points to a signature, and now you can basically download the image, download the signature, and just easily recover it and see if it comes down to this address. And now you have an alterable image. An NFT, you can change its a representation of whatever it is or its asset. And you always know it's definitely signed by the one who created the NFT. So things like this are not even possible in the current 721 specs, for example. So there's a lot of features that you guys will be able to uncover going forward. And it will take some time. We built quite a sophisticated stack of Lego blocks, and you can start blocking them together in a simple way or a more complex way, and you can even extend them because they're that flexible. And yeah, that's the important thing of creating this cool new stuff. That's going to happen in the next few months and years will happen because all the work done over the last few years here, the invisible work, that later makes the more visible work so exciting and so free, let's say.
Yeah, that's cool. I just want to say also thanks everyone for your intellectual curiosity, let's say. It's as Fabian said, it's not maybe not as easy because there are a lot of new blocks, and we believe that it opens door for a lot of new projects and usage that we don't know yet. So yeah, we believe that it's a good moment to build, when the network is early. So yeah, we are very excited to see with what idea you're coming with, and yeah, on our side, we know that Jean has a lot of ideas of how to use those building blocks, so we need to put that on the docs to give some ideas. But yeah, that's we hope it's good food for thought, let's say, and you're having fun playing with that. So
yeah, I fully want to second this as well. But also concerning the docs, I mean, don't see the docs as final, right? We are a very busy team, so making the docs as perfect and as easy as they could be. I mean, right now, a lot on the standard section is really well described, but that's more for the ones who want to dig really deep. The learn section, the easy ins, they definitely need to expand it a lot more. There's a lot more things of how we can, for example, showcase how you can create these different kind of NFT types, how you could combine them together, how you read out certain data of them. So that's something that will grow and improve over the next few months. So bear with us to get this all ready. There's also one quick question on privacy-related LSPs. So we're not working on a privacy-related LSP, but there's a lot of privacy tools that you could link or reference fairly simply from your universal profile, right? If you want to have a 3-box or whatever other thing data reference from your profile, all you need to do is just define some data key and link to it, and you have your profile have its additional private box attached to it. So there's a lot of things that can be fairly easily migrated, integrated, or attached to a profile. Nothing needs to be reinvented here from scratch that has already been worked on and built over the last few years.
All right, I see some very supportive messages in the chat. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys, for your answers, and also to our community for being so engaged and asking questions. For those watching on YouTube, even though this is the last Q&A, we're going to continue to support you on Discord in the Hacker Discussion channel, so you can share there any questions that you might have. Thanks, everyone. Once again, best of luck with your projects, and don't forget about the deadline upcoming on the 27th.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Tonto DeFi, thanks. Very cool questions. I will read that tonight. Thanks, everyone. Ciao.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.